Um, I think there's a confirmational bias that leads people to the perspective that it's a uniquely American phenomenon, and I can tell you that's not the case. Um, what I think is the case, and there's a great book written by a friend of mine, Robert Hastings, called UFOs and Nukes. I think there is a definite link between nuclear weapons, nuclear power, nuclear facilities of any kind, and the phenomenon. And I've spoken to people all around the world, including in China and Russia and Australia, where facilities that are either linked into the nuclear deterrence, the American nuclear deterrence, like Pine Gap, which is a very sensitive American military base here in Australia, or nuclear weapons sites in the United States or the United Kingdom, they are being routinely visited by whatever this phenomenon is. I just want to pick up as well, you said extraterrestrial. I'm not sure I agree necessarily that the best explanation for this phenomenon is extraterrestrial, i.e., an alien intelligence from another planet, from another terrestrial planet. I suspect that whatever the phenomenon is, it may in fact be intraterrestrial. It may be here already, or more importantly, it might be interdimensional, which is what David Grush speculates. I think we have to be very careful with our language, which is why we use NHI, which is a clumsy acronym, I admit, but it means non-human intelligence. And that tries to cover the breadth of what we're talking about here. In answer to your question, to give you an example, I've been very interested in the drones story, that the United States has been pushing this line that these drones, so-called, are just Russian or Chinese foreign adversary drones, and that it's only a matter of time before it's proven that these drones that are buzzing sensitive facilities across the United States and the United Kingdom and Western Europe, including Germany and Sweden, that it's only a matter of time before these drones are revealed to be Russian or Chinese technology. And I think that's bunkum. And I think that's absolute nonsense, because the phenomenon is being recorded. I have been fire-hosed with people from all over the world since I started talking about this, telling me that they're seeing these drone objects in their country. And I think what we're talking about here is a bit like the way true crime gets misreported. You know, there's murder rates of real crime, actual crime, and then there's reported rates. And it often leads to a disproportionate allocation of resources and an underfunding of police resources in areas that do have real crime problems, but which aren't being reported as much because, frankly, police don't bother reporting them, because what's the point? They make the judgment it's so common. And I think that's happening with the UFO issue as well. I think that there's a distortion caused by a perception bias. I think a lot of people don't report because of the ridicule and the taboo. In my country, I've had F-35 pilots sitting in my room here telling me that they feel that it's unsafe for them to report what they've seen in training ranges off the coast of Australia, obviously anomalous objects doing extraordinary things, and they don't feel comfortable reporting. And so it means that my government here in Australia reports to the Parliament that, you know, UFOs are not an issue, UAPs are not an issue, and it's not an issue for concern. The military denies any knowledge of it, and yet it's an issue for the men and women on the coalface, right at the front lines, who are having to deal with this phenomena. It's a very real issue. And so I think what we're talking about here is an underreporting, a misreporting, rather than it purely being a US phenomenon.